welcome back to Dimes on Duval, presented by Coastal Indoor Golf. Alongside Skylar Chase and Mike Yazji, I'm Keith Manzi. We are here at, my house today. We're not at Coastal, and we're here to give you one last episode before the new year. If you're listening to this after the new year, hope you had a good one. 2021 is upon us. How does it make you feel, Skylar? Are you excited?
Yeah, I mean, with how 2020's gone, it's been an interesting year, obviously. And we have now some things to look forward to, which it didn't seem like just 3 weeks ago, maybe, for some people. I mean, for Jaguar fans in particular. But now we have, something to look forward to and talk about up until April. And then after April, we'll have something to keep going, talking about. And then, depending on how that thing goes, we'll have something to talk about for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
That thing you're alluding to, it sounds like it's pretty important. Is it important to the city of Jacksonville or to what?
Trevor fucking Lawrence.
All right.
Well, yeah, all right. That answers that. Mike, I wish we could show you guys how he's reacting right now, but it looks like a little kid that just got what he wanted on Christmas, and that was pretty much a Christmas present for us. I mean, it's close enough to the holiday season.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best package you could get as a Jaguar fan. It's just it's an incredible feeling. It's an interesting feeling because we have the first overall pick, which is normally you'd be like, I don't want to be known as the worst football team in the NFL, but with this year's prospect, one of the top prospects to ever play football, ever, it's just something incredible. And now he's gonna, come to Jacksonville, hoping. Yeah, I mean, I hope like pending nothing goes weird. Obviously, 2020 proves that anything can happen. But, yeah.
I have never been so excited for a draft ever, or the fact that the Jags lost, the Jets won. I'm just in shock. I'm still in shock.
The way the Jets lost the way the Jets won. I'm sorry, but the Browns lost. Like it was just a fun way to see that happen.
Screw the Jets and screw the Browns.
I'm just saying it was the way that ended. It was just fun to watch Baker Mayfield fumbling on a 4th and 1 for us to. That's how we clinched. I'm glad we didn't have to wait till next week. We're not.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, we clinched it up, and I had a feeling that the Jags were gonna lose, which was pretty. Everyone was worried about the Bears, which I was not worried about because the Jags stink.
That feeling of loss is there every week.
Yeah, that's my point. And then I had a feeling the Browns were gonna lose, especially after all their COVID outbreaks that they had the last week. I was like, it's gotta happen this week. And when it happened, I was watching Red Zone. The Jags had officially lost. We didn't care for that game. We were watching Red Zone. And then Baker fumbled. And then Jets got the ball after they reviewed and everything. Just jubilation. Because the Jags hopefully have found their franchise quarterback, their savior. Because, my God, they've needed it. Because now the future looks a lot brighter with Trevor Lawrence. $88 million in cap space, at least. And just a new general manager coming in, new head coach,
new parking lot.
Maybe if that gets approved, which I don't see why it wouldn't get approved now. The future is so bright in Jacksonville, and now this, hopefully, if it works out with Trevor Lawrence, the talks of relocation and all this stuff being the butt of jokes from local media, from national media, from fans across the country, like, it's over. Like, I'm so relieved that we finally have a chance at Trevor Lawrence. Going into the season, I did not think this was possible. I legitimately thought the Jets were going 0-16. And boy, am I glad I was wrong. I'm still in shock. Like, it's been 4 days since the Jaguars locked up the number 1 pick. I'm still in shock. I didn't think this was possible. Trevor Lawrence has only lost 3 games in his damn career, 2 in high school, 1 in college, and the 1 game he lost in college was against LSU last season in the national championship game. And he's in the playoff again, and he could still end up with 1 loss with 2 national titles and 3 national game appearances. I'm just in shock.
Didn't he not lose any games in high school too?
Well, he lost 2 according to.
He lost 2 because he's lost 3 games in his career since high school on. I believe that's my understanding. He's lost 3 games because he lost 1 in college, and he didn't play the game against Notre Dame this year, and they did beat Boston College in the other game that he didn't miss earlier this year.
Do you think he lost any like Pee-wee games or anything like that?
Wouldn't surprise me, but at this rate, the way he's been so successful, I wouldn't be surprised if he went undefeated.
I actually was watching some of his 8th grade highlights the other day. It was he looked just like a sophomore playing against middle schoolers. It was incredible.
And that's what he's looked like the last 3 years in Clemson. He has dominated the position, dominated the college football game.
He is like just a product of everything, every QB position, every QB that's played culminated into one. He's got the legs. He can throw on the run. He can throw a rocket. He's got the brains. He can read a defense and diagnose it. He can know how to get free yardage. He knows how to take advantage of every down for what it's worth and make sure that he's getting the most out of everything. So I think that's what is crazy to me, is that he's one of the most complete quarterback prospects ever to play, and he's going to be in our city, and he's going to be in our city for many, many years. Hopefully, that we get the right front office. But I feel like it's going to be more like a LeBron situation in the sense that he'll have more control on the management that comes and goes. So Trevor, I think, will have his say, so to speak, even as a rookie coming in. He's already got the offense ready. They're going to use the cap space to probably build on the defensive lines, both sides of the ball, really. They have so much money to spend. And they can bring in the best GM and the best head coach, because who wouldn't want to come to Florida in the Sunshine State with the prospect, with all this money to build? And one thing that I'm also super excited about is 2017 was great, and one of the best parts of that was seeing the stands packed, and everyone was wearing teal. It wasn't like how you see it now where you go and it's mainly opposing teams' fans. Jacksonville's not going to pay money to go see a crap product. The fans here are smart, and unfortunately we get a lot of negative crap spewed on us because we're financially fiscal with our money and not going to spend money on a bad product. But I guarantee with Trevor Lawrence coming in, the stadium's going to be packed next year, and year after that. I don't foresee him losing more than 8 games in a season just coming in.
And that's all we can hope for. I mean, heck, I would love if he lost.
I need to
less
check.
than 8 games.
Yeah, I need to check a stat, but I think every year Andrew Luck was healthy, the Colts never had under 10 wins. So I would expect and hope for productivity to that same caliber.
I mean, that would be awesome. I mean,
and 10 wins is what we got in 2017, and so
this is true.
To replicate that every year.
It's nice to see some positivity flowing around. But going back to what you said about the people wanting to come to Jacksonville, that's why this GM job is such a dream.
Not to forget the fact that we have so many draft picks this year too.
Oh yeah,
so
2 in the first round, 2 in the second round, right? 11 total draft picks. I mean, that's an insane amount. But alas, there's still those people out there that will talk all kinds of crap about us. And I really think, Mike, you need to expand on this a little bit, as a lot of you people have Twitter and seen it, but I want Mike to talk about this.
Is this a Mike's Mad Minute?
It might be Mike's Mad 2 minutes, but
Mike's Furious Frenzy.
Yeah, exactly. There's been so many people talking. After the Jaguars were pretty much ahead of the Jets last week in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes, they all tweeted about how the Jets lost the number 1 pick and that the Jags got it. And they're saying stuff like, for example, Jason Cole said that, sure, the Jets lose out on the number 1 pick with a win today, but if I'm Trevor Lawrence, I'm not happy either. I lose out on playing in New York and possibly end up in Jacksonville, the worst media market in the NFL. That's one tweet. And ironically, he's a Hall of Fame voter. And I'll get on that in a second. Another person, a New Yorker, tweeted, Jets fans were worried about Trevor Lawrence would pull a Elway Eli move on them. Trevor is from Georgia, and even though Jacksonville's not too far away in northern Florida, has anybody thought perhaps he doesn't want to play for the Jags? They stink playing games in London, and it's not New York.
By the way, they're not even playing in London now. The contract's over for that.
I think that's and that's the thing. That's the national narrative that we're the London team. They don't know that the contract expired.
And
but
that just shows you how uninformed the national media is,
exactly.
too.
And this guy, Gary Myers, also a Hall of Fame voter. So I thought it was kind of ironic that 2 Hall of Fame voters both were pretty much shitting on the city of Jacksonville, and which I wonder if it's a kind of a direct correlation to why former Jaguar legends, Tony Baselli and Fred Taylor, have not gone in the Hall of Fame. I'm thinking that's a pretty good case now that they're pretty much explicitly tweeting that Jacksonville's a shitty market, but that it's affecting our 2 legends in terms of their chances of getting in the Hall of Fame, which is the highest form of honor one can get in the National Football League.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a similar situation when it comes to Pro Bowls. Like, obviously, we saw it with James Robinson.
I was going to say, don't get me started on the Pro Bowl. That's a joke.
That goes towards your Hall of Fame credentials. You know, they put that towards why you're a better player. I see so many people arguing against Fred Taylor because of his Pro Bowl appearances. And it's irrelevant because he should have been in so many more Pro Bowls than, obviously, I think he only had 1 Pro Bowl.
Yeah, well, and that's a big problem is especially with all the players that opt out, too. I mean, does that still count? Do you still get credited with a Pro Bowl if you don't go? And then the person that does go instead, that's probably like the 7th or 8th best at their position, are they really deserving of it just because Bob and Joe decided not to do it? And here comes old Billy, who was okay at his position, but, well, he's available to go to Orlando.
It's also, like, the votes on Twitter go towards Pro Bowl votes, so it's like, that doesn't matter either because back in the 50s, well, I don't think they had the Pro Bowl in the 50s or whatever, but for an example, you know, back in the old day when they didn't have Twitter, it was strictly, I think, peer voting in the league. So now with the fact that fans are voting, you know, obviously the media teams with the more followers are going to be able to get their players in.
Yeah,
but,
and one thing I'd like just to go back on the 2 Hall of Fame voters and also national media hating on the Jaguars. Where was all this hate about how tanking is a thing when the Jets had the number 1 pick? Like, people, it's clear as day, the media does not believe Jacksonville
they
have a team.
They legit threw that game against Las Vegas. I mean, that
well, I don't know if they threw it. Greg Williams is an idiot, but that's why he got fired the next day. But it just doesn't make any sense why they're attacking Jacksonville when they have the number 1 pick, which we've never had. And every time we have a top 10 draft pick, more often than not, we blow it. Like, there's just many cases. There's already, I saw an article, I think it was like 7 or 8 picks that we had in top 10 have been pretty much busts. Like, we don't really draft well in the top 10.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping now with Trevor Lawrence, it's a change of pace. It's a change for our future. And it is the biggest. Honestly, I was more happy when we drafted. When we locked up the number 1 pick. More happy with that moment than I was when we, clinched the division back in 2017. Beat the Bills in the wild card round and beat the Steelers in the divisional round.
There's obviously more potential with this. I mean, 2017, I think it looked like we have something here that we could maybe capitalize for the next 3 years or so. With Trevor Lawrence, it's something that has the potential to be capitalized for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
And that's why I tweeted. The other day I tweeted about try not to use recency bias, but I don't know about you two, but I was more excited for the 2018 season more than I am at this upcoming season because I saw what we could have done in 2018. We were 1-2 plays away from the Super Bowl. And then, granted, this year it's a rebuilding project, but 18, I was excited. I was so pumped. I'm actually a little surprised that it was more in favor of the 2021 season. But I'm trying to think that it's a little bit of recency bias. But I also know I tried to tell people not to use recency bias, but I can't control what people think.
I mean, you could probably go back on one of our old episodes and probably find how hype we were because, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, Skylar, you predicted us to have a very, very good record that next season.
Well, probably, yeah. I think I was probably predicted something like 12
typically you usually do have good records for us, but like it seemed like it would probably be higher with, again, how that season went, like Mike said.
Yeah, I mean, I expected them to do well in 2018, and then I think once Cam Robinson got hurt in the New England game, I think obviously that kind of made the offense kind of sputter a little because our run game was doing pretty well, and Blake Bortles was passing the ball pretty well when Cam was healthy, and ever since that ACL tear of Cam's, it's just the offensive line been's kind of inconsistent at times, but Yeah, I mean, I was excited for 2018, obviously, but like I said, there's so much potential, and I think the fit of Lawrence here in Jacksonville is so much better than New York as well. He's from Georgia. He's from a country town. This city's going to be great for him. He's not going to have people going crazy like everywhere he goes. I mean, they will if they see him, but he's going to have enough space in the city to kind of go on his own and be out on his own. And
so
such.
we got plenty of time to talk about Trevor Lawrence. We got 4 months till he's probably going to be a Jaguar. Do you guys want to move on? All right. So speaking of Trevor Lawrence, just last thing on Trevor Lawrence, the Heisman Trophy gets presented on January 5th next week. And there are 4 nominees for the Heisman Trophy. Trevor Lawrence, Devontae Smith, Mac Jones, and Kyle Trask. Of those 4, Skylar, who do you think, let's just answer just quickly, should win or will win, if you think it's 2 different answers?
All right, without bias, gosh, I guess Devontae Smith is the guy for both of those. I would go with, if I'm doing it without bias, with a little bit of bias in there, I think Trask, obviously, his numbers are fantastic, and the quarterback position's obviously spotlighted and such. But I think they're going to ultimately look at Alabama versus Clemson, who's at a better point. I think Trevor Lawrence might be in second, to be honest, just because he's been the golden boy. His stats are good. I mean, he's obviously hasn't played a full season, missing a couple games with COVID, but the way he played against Notre Dame was really impressive, and I think they might use that as a form to say, listen, we can't not give it to him. This is a funky season. He battled COVID. He came back from COVID and dominated against his opponent to get his team into the playoffs, because they beat a team that they lost without him. So there's going to be that argument played against it. Mac Jones will have the argument of Alabama being dominant too as well.
I'm going to go with Devontae Smith should win just because he's been so dominant. I'm just going to give it to Trevor Lawrence just because of him being Trevor Lawrence. What about you, Mike?
I say Trevor Lawrence should win it. I'm actually the exact opposite of you, Keith. Trevor Lawrence should win it, but I think Devontae Smith will win it. I say Trevor Lawrence should win it is because he has been instrumental in, one, getting college football back, not since the beginning, since the summer when they were talking about maybe not playing this summer.
He gets the Heisman because he started a college player union?
No, I'm saying that to bring it back, he is the whole definition of the Heisman Trophy is someone who exemplifies high character and all that stuff. Let's see, I'm reading the definition. I'm sorry. Winners, I can't even read that word. Epitomize. Thank you. I probably sound so stupid for that, but I don't care. Epitomize great ability combined with diligence, perseverance, and hard work. Now, Trevor Lawrence, I think, deserves it not only because he was the guy who helped bring college football back with the union that you're referring to, Skylar, was a huge activist in the human rights and the civil rights that he had. He was a key component of that for trying to bring everyone together back in the summer with all the civil unrest that we had in this country. And he's a freaking stud as a football player, which I think he's going to, again, I can't wait till we draft him April 29th, but that's later on next year.
Do you think they're going to consider all that, though? Like, that's all off-season stuff. I guess your point to what you're saying about the high character and all that, and all that's, gobbledygook about being good character, high-quality character. I get that. That makes sense. But I don't know how much that will determine him getting the Heisman. I understand the argument, but I don't know.
I think it's going to be it wouldn't surprise me if they don't count that, but if they want great character people, they want to move on from the bad character people such as Johnny Manziel, Jameis Winston, all that stuff. Why not go with it? But I think Devontae Smith's going to win it because he's been balling this entire season. Yeah. He's averaging 15 yards a catch, 135 yards a game. He's got 17 touchdowns, which I don't remember the last time a receiver absolutely balled out like this. Maybe Jerry Jeudy last year, but he just torn it up, especially after Jalen Waddle broke his leg earlier this year against, I believe it was Texas A&M. So he's torn it up since that game, and I think he's earned it. He's had over 150 yards a game multiple times this year.
Yeah, I think he'll end up being the winner. My argument about the character thing is if they really cared about character, the NCAA would just dissolve.
Touche.
Touche indeed. Well, moving on from the Heisman, we just discussed a lot of stats and high number of stats. We're going to go into a little local update now, and that local update, we would be remiss on this podcast to not mention on the local portion about our boy Johnny Wolford from Bishop Kenny High School is going to get his first NFL start for the Rams this weekend.
I was fortunate enough to see him play as a freshman. Yeah,
we were fortunate to see him, but
he lost to Creekside in the playoffs.
I mentioned the high stats because Scott and I were actually both at this game. I don't know if Mike was, but Bishop Kenny and Clay played in the playoffs. It was 74-73 was the final score.
I was in Tallahassee at Florida State in 2013, so yeah, I definitely not see this. But I do remember watching John Wolford play for Bishop Kenny when I was there. He was actually in my brother's grade, so when I was a junior, Johnny was a freshman. So I remember seeing Johnny for 2 years, and he did tear it up. Him and Ahmad Fullwood, who had ended up going to UF.
What a shame.
And Johnny Wolford was actually going to, I forgot where he was going to go. He was going to go to...
He went to Wake Forest.
Before Wake Forest, he was going somewhere else, then he committed to Wake Forest. I can't remember where his original commitment was. But either way, he went to Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And
Bobby was BYU, and then he decommitted and went to Boston College.
So it's the wrong Wolford brother. So. But yeah, Johnny was really good in high school. I remember watching him actually, I think my sophomore year at FSU. Or maybe it was my junior. I don't know. It was one year I saw him play against Florida State too. So I did see him one time in college.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
He's
so
like,
I've seen him.
I know that guy.
Yeah, I've seen him a few times. So he's a good football player from what I remember in high school and college. But I do expect him to. I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see how he does in the NFL. It is his first career start, and ironically, in a must-win game, missing two of his big, or maybe three, key weapons in LA in Cooper Kupp, in Darrell Henderson Jr. and also Cam Akers. So we'll see what happens.
Is it really must win? I mean, they're already got a playoff spot, don't they? Or
they do not have a playoff spot. The game against the Cardinals is a must win for both teams.
Okay. Well, what I was gonna say is he led the league in touchdowns for that one football league that's gone already. Was it the fake?
His was the AAF.
AAF. Okay,
yeah.
And he was the Hot Shots quarterback.
Yeah, he won Player of the Week multiple times. So. One last thing before we wrap up. Not a terribly long show today. Of course, we want to end the New Year's on a high note, or the end of the 2020 on a high note since it's been so bad.
Start the new year.
Yeah,
We're
start
the new year.
End the new year. No.
Just end it already because 2020 was so much crap.
Exactly. Just some good news for people who like food. Ooh. And I know we on this podcast do that. Culver's, if you are familiar with them, is coming to town. They announced that they will be coming on Gate Parkway, right by the IKEA, early summer 2021. They're already building one in Middleburg, and they're building one in like the Orange Park area, like Paramore Road, way down away from us. And Yulee just got approved for one as well. But this one will actually be in Duval, be in Jacksonville. And if you're not familiar with Culver's, God, they got some good food.
Yeah. I went up to one up in Gurnee, Illinois. That was my first time. It was probably about 7-8 years ago, and I can remember the crispiness of the curd, but the meltiness of the cheese, and it is so good. And then the custard is so delicious, and the buns are perfectly buttered, and the meat's perfectly tender.
All right, I'm moving on from that Skylar talk.
I think Skylar's a little turned on over here, but butterburgers are they get that name just because of the bun being buttered in a certain way, and then the custard. They're known for the flavor of the day. Every day they have a new flavor. They're really good. Shout out to Alyssa's friend Kelly who loves the custard. I think she gets the same kind every time, but good for us. Another nice little chicken joint that'll join the rotation probably.
Yeah, I've had Culver's once, and I was in Tampa, and I do remember it was pretty good. When I had it was, I think, like I said, Tampa or maybe St. Pete. But either way, I thought it was really good. And we just see four guys just smiling with chicken. I don't know.
Cheese curd. It's a cheese curd. They're pulling the cheese apart. It looks so dumb.
Do you remember the A&W and KFC they had on San Jose? That was good too. But I mean, it's not as good as Culver's though. Let me tell you, their cheese curds are delicious. So, what does that? Do we have a date on when they plan to be open?
It says early summer 2021.
All right, so
That
maybe
is if COVID doesn't
June
impact
or
things, so we'll see.
I
But,
doubt it impacts the construction, but
It could.
Well, that article was written about 15 days ago, so that's a good sign.
yeah, that is a good sign. I mean, I guess it's a good article with good indications because the signs are on the streets.
And I do remember when I was at Culver's in that Tampa, St. Pete area, I did try one of their shakes. The shakes were good. I did get a chocolate one, so a basic one, but I remember it was really good when I had it there.
Yeah, one time I actually got a plastic spoon from Culver's as a birthday present because my grandparents go up to Illinois around my birthday for family reunions, and they went to Culver's like a tradition that they always had, and they asked for a spoon or fork, and the woman working brought back the spoon and said, "This is a real plastic spoon." So they thought that was funny, and they typed up like a note saying just describing the whole story, and so they gave me that spoon as a birthday present once from Culver. So I have a blue plastic spoon from Culver somewhere.
I've never heard such a loving story about a spoon.
Yeah.
And a deep story about a spoon either.
And I mean, it's not a big spoon or a little spoon like you normally hear romantic stories about, but it's a blue plastic spoon. That's with the great love story behind it.
I don't think I have any utensils that I really. Oh, okay. I had a cool pair of chopsticks,
Ooh.
but that was it.
Have you ever had the Extend-A-Forks like the?
I did. Yep.
And I think
Scott got one of those from my Uncle Bob.
They also had one. They had like a magnetic fork too. They were really into utensils, so I don't know what it is.
Enough about utensils and spoons and stories.
You're forking done with it, aren't you?
That is a dad joke if I've ever heard one.
Well, I don't have a kid yet, so it can't be. It's just a joke.
On that note,
Close the drawer. Put the silverware away.
you guys have anything else? All right, for Keith Manzi, for Skylar Chase, this is Mike Yaji signing off for Dimes on Duval. Have a good night, everyone, and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year.